going to the 2020 annual general meeting for the Neepawa Titans Junior A Hockey Club. First of all, thank you all for attending, and if you haven't signed we'll register at the door there to ask you to do so. We kind of need that for a record of who's been in attendance. Just a note of explanation, I think everybody knows this, but because we're a community-based team, anyone who attends from the community is entitled to speak and vote at this meeting. Thank you to NACTV for being here to video the event tonight, and to Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy, you never hardly see him, but he's almost always at the arena, behind the scenes and on the equipment at the hockey games. And thank you to Owen for the banner to be here as well. The agenda was circulated, so the first thing was to call to order, so I call the meeting to order. And we have the minutes of the 2020 AGM. I'll leave it to the choice of the group here. Do you wish the minutes read, or do you wish to be satisfied with having scanned the minutes in your packet? Do you wish them read, or if not, would someone move that the minutes be adopted? I'll move that. Nicholson, second by Bill Stewart. Are there any errors or omissions? Any errors or omissions? Noting none, all those in favor of the minutes, please do indicate by raising your hand. Any opposed? Thank you. The President's report is also circulated, but I will read it because it is new information and because it's not that long, and also because we're being televised tonight this way. Both my report, Kenny's report, and the financial statements report from Ian Thompson will read them out so that everybody not only hears them here, but has access to them on TV. So thank you to Ken Pearson and his staff for their hard work through a very difficult year. It's safe to say that there has never been another hockey season like this one. Largely due to staff efforts, we were able to keep our 2020 partners' participation in place, and most have agreed to come back for the coming year. Thank you also to our board of directors and volunteers. Your efforts are appreciated. I believe the adoption of the Titans name, logo, and new line of uniforms and clothing has been very well received. Thank you to everyone who worked so hard to make this all happen. Thank you to Ian Thompson and Chase Critchlow of Cindy Thompson for their work on our behalf. Ian will explain what happened this year, our financial statements. Well, he may not be able to explain what happened this year, but explain the financial statements. After their presentation, we'll open the floor for questions. Cindy Thompson not only donates their accountant services, but also takes a partnership position each year. It has been noted by Ian and by Kenny that while due to the very odd set of circumstances, we had a good financial year. We need to do at least three things. I see your president needs to learn how to type better. Expand the class lottery, expand the sports dinner, and expand our fan base. And speaking of fundraising, the Titans are very grateful for the diligent work done by Matt Lowry and his Ag Expo Committee. Both this year and last year's event were held online and on NACTV, and were a good boost to the team and the Ag community. On the league front, the Board of Governors meetings were almost all by Zoom, and that doesn't work that well, in my opinion. Also, the league management committee bypassed the board on many occasions, and that has to end. The team did benefit this year from a share of the league franchise fee from the Winnipeg Freeze, as well as some government money that came through the league. There will be another share of franchise fee coming from the new Neepawa franchise in 2022. And that concludes my report. I think that if you don't mind, we'll save questions until after Kenny's report's done and the financial statements, and then open the floor for questions to Ian, to Kenny, or to myself. But I don't expect to have a whole lot of questions for me. So Kenny, if you would mind giving me a report today.
Mine will be probably much shorter than Ken's. For obvious reasons, we didn't besides the 10 games that we started off with, we didn't see much hockey this winter. But off the ice, we did continue to be involved in the community as much as we could with COVID. We continued to read to the different schools in the Neepawa and area. We continued to watch many games in other provinces and in the United States via our hockey video system that we have set up through our league. Maybe going back to the July the 20th when we decided to change the name, I believe it was, in and around that area. That took a lot of time and a lot of effort on everyone's part, and the pandemic probably gave us, or gave myself, more time to work on that with others. I think that the group that was involved in that process was a thorough group that wanted to make sure that in choosing the name, it was one that Neepawa and the area would be proud of, touched on our on our history from 1989 team to the 2020 era, with our color changes and whatnot. I think that the name has been well received by current and former players, as well as I think most, if not all, supporters of the new name and supporters that have been part of the team for a number of years. So I thank the people I work with on that. I think the people that are going to continue to support our name and our team going forward, and that's a lot of you here tonight. We did, although we didn't play many games, we did have a few players who went on to play in other leagues, and I think that of course allowed them to get seen by some different schools. We had all of our graduating players, with the exception of one who's decided not to play, find a place to further their education and their hockey. And we also had two players who were underages who also committed to further playing and their education. The one player will continue to play with us this year before he goes to school in Pennsylvania, which I think that's something that this organization has always done a very good job of for many years, at making sure that not only do they bring in good people, but they move those people on to the next level through a new sport, NCAA or minor pro. That's something I think that this organization can be proud of, and we're going to continue to work on that. On a bit of a sad note or whatnot, but we are making some slight changes to our coaching staff this year. Matt Lowry won't be joining us. He's going to move into kind of a different role with us this year. Last year he really wanted to get involved, get on the bench more, get more practices and whatnot, and obviously it was cut short, but he's got some family commitments that are now going to not allow him to be around as much. He is going to stay part of our staff, just in a different setting. So we're not sure what we're going to do exactly. If we're going to add another assistant part-time guy, or just stay with the crew that we have currently. So we are in the process of preparing for our summer development camp and our main camp. We just finished 3 weeks ago, our summer development camp in Winnipeg that the league puts on. We had 8 prospects there. I thought all of them showed very well. Most of them in the fitness testing finished, I would want to say, in the top 20. And we even had 2 of our prospects who finished in the top 3 of all the testing. So I was really happy and impressed with our prospects. I'm looking forward to seeing them all here the 31st of August. Want to thank the board for their continued support of myself and our staff. I think that we have a lot of work still ahead of us, both on and off the ice, but I think that we are making some headway in both areas on the ice. I think we're ready to take that next step with the team, with the league moving to 2 divisions, putting us in the division with OCN, Swan River, Wayway, Dauphin, and Verdun. I think that we are ready to see playoff hockey here in March. I like our group that we've got coming back. We've made some good moves with our recruits, and also some trades that we've made that will not only give us depth, but provide us with more stability and be a little bit more grit than we've had here in the last 2 years anyways. I look forward to seeing you all at the rink in I shouldn't say the 31st of August, so I'm not sure exactly just yet how many people will be allowed then, but I do know for into September and into our games that we will have fans in the stands for our games. Hopefully we'll get good news again next week with what we can and can't do as far as our training camps and the recent games. I will move back to here.
Thank you very much, Kenny. Call on Ian Thompson to come forward and present the financial statements, and as I said, after he's done, we'll certainly entertain questions on the statements or from the manager report of the client. So, Ian, thank you again for being with us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, everybody. I think everybody's got a set of financial statements. I'll quickly through them. And I think if we had that quick look through them, you'll find that COVID had lots of surprises for us during the year. And one is definitely the financial statement we're going to go through in a pleasant way. So I think let's start on page 6, which is the revenue side of the statement of operations. We'll run through the revenues quickly, and then we'll flip over to the expenses that you'll find on the back page. Everybody hear me okay? Yeah, good. Okay, as far as revenues go for the year, starting off with the game revenue, we are going to see a drop, 25.5 this year versus 38 the year before, as expected. So just a bit of a breakdown on that one. Actual, just game day tickets for this year was just over 13,000. Last year was 22,000. Season tickets were almost spot on. 12.3 this year, 12,100 the year before. Advertising and sponsorship remained very strong. 86,000 versus 93 was down just a little bit this year. There was a few sponsors that with COVID, they decided to carry their sponsorship over into the 21-22 year. As part of the small amount there. Player contracts, no changes last year. As far as the hockey camps go, there was only one held versus a typical 2, so about half the revenues. Fundraising, again, was very strong 1 year at 154 versus 167. Donations is part of this fundraising account, so I put them in there. There was a total of $40,000 worth of donations in the current year versus about 10 the year before, so that was up significantly. Lottery revenues were very similar, 50-50, and some game day stuff as part of this. And then, of course, the Ag Expo, which, again, we were going through. Some of the other miscellaneous revenues that we get into, as Ken alluded to in his president's message, there was a grant from Sport Manitoba that came through the league. And then with the new franchise and that coming through, we received a share of that for $12,680. Travel fee revenue, 18 versus 39 on the year. And then, of course, a little bit of patronage did then just go around there to sort of the operating revenues. Total of 310, down from 372. And from there, why don't we jump to the very back page, where we'll find the expenses for the year. And the expenses is where we're going to see definitely a large drop on the year just with COVID coming into play. We're having a lot of day-to-day operational expenses. Commission workers for the few games, $200. Advertising for the year, going up to be about half. Amortization and depreciation on equipment, nothing was added during the year. Billets expense was down, of course, with a lot of the players leaving partway through. Same with the bus expense, travel was down significantly. Fitness and training came in about the same. Fundraising expenses, they were down, 53,000 versus 82 for the year. Part of these fundraising expenses is the cash draw. Parts that are sort of missing in a year would be the sports dinner. Then we get into game day setup, a few $100 again, hockey camp, and just a run going on. Hockey supplies down significantly with the games not being there. Same thing with the ice rental. A little bit of insurance that the organization carries. Interest in bank charges down for the year, 11 versus 14. One of the big ones that wasn't present this year really was the MJ fee. Paid $21,000 the year before. Some medical, bit of office. Again, there's no clear contract expense on the current year. Professional fees, there's just a little bit of legal over time. Referee expense down significantly. Repairs and maintenance fairly significant. Scouting way down as well. Subcontract at $73,000 this year. Combination of a few people in there, some marketing. So Brett and Derek are part of that for $22,000. And then our coach here for $50,000. Telephone, $700. Travel down significantly as well. Wages, pretty similar year to year, 12.8, and most of that one was long. So expenses, $260. We'll take that back to page 6. So expenses of $260 is going to leave you with an operating income on the year of about $50,000 versus an operational loss of $64,000 the year prior. And then we have a couple of bonus revenues coming through this year, COVID related. So one is the government wage subsidy. So they came up with a program, sort of acronym Q's on here. And this one was if your operating revenues were down or absent from the year before, the government compensated a portion of the wages. And the second one was the Manitoba Bridge Grant, and this one came through for the province once restrictions really came on in November where operations were shut down. There was a series of $4,000 or $5,000 grants that came through to the spring. So the COVID programs, the club gained $46,000, giving a total net income for the year of $96,000 versus an operating loss of $64,000 the year prior. So, COVID surprise. From there, let's back it up a couple more pages. We're at page 4. So page 4 and page 5 are the financial position of the club as of May 31st. Page 4 is the asset side of the financial position. And on this one, we'll find under current assets, a little bit of cash, $16,000. Most of this is a savings account that the club is set up to repay a CDOT loan, which we're going to see on the liabilities side of things. Accounts receivable, $9,800, a combination of some trade sponsorships that were outstanding at the end of the year, and about $2,400 worth of GST that's going to be recovered. Income tax receivable, $44. Our friends at the co-op send in a little bit every year for us. And then the prepaid expenses, $16,000. That is some ice rental to Yellowhead that was paid for, used of course, and carried into the next year. $43,000 in current assets, up nicely from $5,700 the year before. As far as the other assets go, they're present on here. Of course, they're not really cash, not accessible. The investments, $99,000, represented by a $95,000 franchise fee. Balance of that is our co-op equities. Property, plant, and equipment, again, there's no fixed asset additions or disposals on the year. We recommend a little bit of depreciation, which will have to be brought down. Total assets, $145,000. We'll offset that, we'll flip over to page 5. So again, our liabilities as of May 31st, the line of credit with the bank, rates were down $8,000 the year prior, down to just over $20,000 this year. And then we'll also see a significant change in the accounts payable, $41,000 all the way down to $900 this year. A little bit of employee deductions, $900. The deferred revenue of $2,225, so some of our sponsorships that were carried forward into the 2022 year. And then lastly, under the current liabilities, we'll find a single loan for $60,000. So this was one of the operating business loans that we came out with to combat COVID. It was $40,000 that was advanced to the prior already. And there's a little bit of top up that became available in the fall time for another 20. So out of that $60,000 loan, this is an interest-free loan, non-repayable until December of 2022. And if the club is able to repay the loan, $20,000 it would be forgiven. So clearly the club needs to come up with $40,000 by next December to repay this back, which they have been putting aside some savings to date. Hopefully that can continue. If it's not able to be repaid in full by the end of next December, then it turns into a 5-year loan that would have to be repaid. Further liabilities, notes payable. So there's a note in the back of who makes up this $191,000. Again, it really hasn't changed from the year prior. There's one individual in there that offsets some season tickets. That's the payment that represents some money. $283,000 in total liabilities. And to offset our assets on the previous page of $144,000, we show a deficit to balance it out. A reduction this year from $234,000 the year prior to $138,000 this year. So overall, most of the profit, unsuspecting that it came through. It was very welcome. Well, definitely needed it. So a couple of positions just focus on as far as the financial position goes. Page 4 and page 5. So current assets, $43,000. Current liabilities, $84,000. So if you look at the year before, assets of $5,700 versus $144,000. Profit this year made a significant impact into that deficit position. But we are still $40,000 shy. So even though it was a nice $96,000 profitable year, the club is still in the hole as far as operations go. And it's going to take another year like this one to do wonders.
We'd rather play it.
Good start. Hopefully it continues. That's your financial result.
Just under the cash there, 16,777, that is, you see, that's mostly the savings account, right?
Yeah, it's about $11,000.
In the savings now. So there were 11,000 saved up for us to 40 at this point. We're putting away enough per month that if we keep that up, we'll have the amount of money in the savings to pay off the 40 when it comes due a year from this coming December. So we're another, what, 17 months or better.
Yeah, so it'd be really nice to be able to keep that extra 20. So if you can keep that extra 20, that $40,000 shortfall in assets versus liabilities right now is really only 20, which is even how much closer. So.
Does everybody understand that concept there? Okay. Dave, go ahead.
Did you say the 16,777 is now 11,000 something?
Well, 11,000 of that balance is this savings account that they've established where we pay the C loan.
So the money that you found to go into that account, are you just taking that, you have a direct debit on the regular account to top up that savings account?
Not direct debit, we are cutting a check bill every month from the operating account.
From the operating account?
Well, for 1/24th of 40,000.
Yeah. So I mean, that's critical to get to that 40, right?
Yes.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
No.
Be nice.
You get there and you save 20, right?
Yes.
Other questions for Ken or myself, or more importantly for please?
Yes.
You didn't mention who your staff were going to be. Are they anonymous or?
Same staff, I said.
Okay.
Same staff.
So it's Robbie and,
Minus Matt, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Ian. I really appreciate your sponsorship and your friendship and your mentorship. Really appreciate it. Any more discussions on the statements? If not, then can I have a motion to approve the financial statements? Moved by Dave Mack, second by Warren Susky. Any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, our current board is Deborah Castor, Ross McBride, Rob James, Mary Ellen Clark, Warren Susky, Landon Cameron, Jeff Mitchell, Danny Case, Sherry White, Ryan Ford, Jamie Nimbo, Tim Waddell, and Neil Sturd. Are there nominations from the floor? Call the second time. Are there any nominations from the floor? And the third time, any nominations from the floor? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adopt the list of the board of directors? Moved by Ward, second by Bill. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, carried. Okay, I'm going to open it up for discussion here if there's any discussion, but I'm going to ask Jamie Denbo, you could speak to where you are or stand or come to the front of you. Jamie has some ideas about how we might, I guess, restructure a little bit. There would be one, and any suggestions that come forward from him tonight and from the floor, we'll certainly take to our next board meeting, which is coming up mid-month. It's the third Tuesday of the month, which I think is the 17th. Jamie, the floor is yours.
Sure, thanks. Thought it was important to have this conversation today. We're a community-owned team, so it's important to have a discussion about a potential restructuring of the board from the community. So I have the privilege, responsibility, depending on which board I've been on, in our town, in our province, nationally, internationally. So I get to see kind of how a lot of boards function. One nice thing about being a new member of a board is you're kind of expected to watch for a while and learn how the board functions. And over my time, it's very evident by looking at boards, if you're going through meetings and everything seems stagnant, you only have to look at the tenure of all the board members on the board. If you've got board members that have been on the board for a very, very long time, you tend to have a stagnant board, and you can tell that in every meeting that you're in. So I think it's very critical to the future of an organization to have a fairly consistent continuum of new members flowing through the board to keep things fresh and new energy, new ideas flowing in. But in my opinion, our current structure of the board doesn't allow that, because we don't have a place for the president to go after being the president, which means we don't have a place for the vice president to be able to move into the president role. So I think it's important, or I would suggest, and open up for conversation here, that we bring in some form of expected tenure by role. And then we also need to create a new position. I'm going to call it past president. I don't know what else to call it. But we need a past president role for the current president to move into, to serve as that guiding light, to serve as that mentor to whoever steps up as a new president, to help guide the new president, guide the future of the team. I'm only suggesting this because I think we have an opportunity. We made a big step as a community-owned team to do a lot of work into rebranding the team. I've never seen so much excitement and energy around the team since I moved back to this area 17 years ago. Not only did we brand the junior team, but Neepawa Minor Hockey followed suit, and they did a complete rebranding of Neepawa Minor Hockey to follow our lead as the Titans. So I think we have a huge opportunity in front of us to capture some momentum and take this team to where it can be in the future. I'm just concerned if we don't make some form of structural changes, we're going to fall back into the trap that a lot of boards fall back into and become that stagnant board. So I don't know if I've said everything that I want to say, but that's what came out. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, and just before I open up for discussion there, as president of the team, Jamie approached me with this, I'm fully supportive of it personally. As I pointed out to him, last February, March, we just about had to find a new president anyway. My health cratered. It was touch and go there for a while where I was going around. And we all have a life expectancy, a shelf life, and obviously at my age I'm getting towards the end of my shelf life. But anyway, nonetheless, I welcome this concept, and we'll certainly discuss it, and anything else that comes up tonight at our next board meeting. Jamie's absolutely right. We have to have a way to transition in the board and in the leadership. And, I think that's everybody recognizes that. So, any comments on what Jamie has said, or any other questions or concerns, ideas about the team, please? Dave Mack.
If I recall, when the group took over from Gaynor,
Yes.
they set up the Constitution, and I don't know if I could get my hands on it, but there is one somewhere.
Yes.
And it might allow for just what you're talking about. I also think that once a membership elects the board has every right to set itself up the way that that board wishes to do it. Because the rest of us are just supportive, right? So, in my humble opinion, I would think that whichever way the board wants to set itself up so that there's a continuity, and I think you can do that on your own. You have every right to organize a board the way you wish.
Yeah, we plan to make copies of the Constitution and get it circulated so that ahead of the next meetings, everybody knows where we stand now. And the Constitutions are wonderful things, as long as you remember what's in them. Any other questions or comments? Marianne?
I think if we're restructuring, because I too, like Jamie, have sat on so many boards and committees where you do have a chairman, a past chairman, a secretary, and a treasurer. And I just think there's more transparency that way in how bills are paid and what the bills are for. And I just feel that needs to take place if we're going to make some changes perhaps. And your other part of the board would be members at large. And I agree, there does need to be a rotation of people coming in. I know with the foundation, your rotation was 2 years, and you could come back on down the road. With the club, hockey club, I think your rotation would need to be longer than 2 years, maybe 4 years, and then you went, because there's always so much happening and moving forward. If you're only on there for 2 years and you're brand new, you really don't know what has transpired and what still needs to happen. I think we do need a little more time, but I do think new energy does need to happen. Every board needs to have new energy and encourage younger people to come on board with new ideas. And not only that, when we do things, we need people that have energy, that will carry the ball and do jobs. And it really comes forth with the lottery, because we need to make money on the lottery, but if you don't go and sell the tickets, you're not going to make any money. But you got to have enough manpower to actually do that. So I think as we restructure and move forward in such a positive way, I think we're just headed in the right direction, and we just need to keep moving forward in such a positive way. That's how I feel. How I feel.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Bill?
No, I support James' suggestion as well. And feel that yes, president, vice president, finance, treasurer, past president, those roles are very important. But the more we can structure the organization, probably the better. Having a director of marketing, a director of fundraising, director of this, that, and everything else, so that everybody actually has a specific role. So the board of directors that are currently sitting on the board for the 21-22 season, maybe that's something that we want to think about, is what kind of a role do you want to actually have within the organization. If you want to have a member of a large role, that's fine. But if you want to be able to take on the marketing role or the finance role or vice president or whatever, then identify what you want to do within the organization and make a point of making that known.
Owen?
I have a question separate from this, but I can wait on that if there's any more discussion in terms of the structure of the board.
Okay. Don't let us forget you there. Any other questions or comments about the structure or about the hockey in general? I just want to comment too, just so that people know, we have, I've offered to the team, and it's been taken up, of course, is that the former Neepawa Banner building on Hamilton Street has been made available to the team at no cost for the last year or so. And it's a little cooler place to work in the summertime there than the rink, right? And Derek is there basically 10 till 4, 10 till 2? 3. 10 till 3 every day, right? And there's been some walk-in traffic, but it's also a good place to run the lottery out of. It's a good place to store all our files. In the 5 or 6 years or whatever that I've been chairman of this board, president, we've gathered up files, some from Dave Mack's office that we want to keep around anymore. Some we dug out of the bowels of the Neepawa Press building, files that we developed, still some more that needs to be done. And all our lottery files, they all have a place to stay. You have to keep the lottery files for I think 5 years. It's quite a while now. And you have to keep your income tax records, although we don't pay income tax for 7 years, right, technically. And so it's nice to have a central place to do it. The building is for sale, but that's not a pitch, by the way, it's just a statement of fact. But it is available to the team at no cost for now, for sure. But if it changes, the board, the team needs to, in my view, needs to have a central downtown location of some sort where people can identify as this is the headquarters for the team. For 7 months of the year, nobody comes to the arena anyway. And the other 5 months of the year, you don't think of going to the arena for business as such, you go for hockey. And so I think having a downtown presence, in my view, is important. And I'm a salesman, promoter, advertiser, and retail kind of guy, and I think it's important to have a storefront presence if it can be done. And we've been able to do it because the building is available. So just wanted to, I'm not getting any rent for it, I'm not asking any rent for it. It's happening as it is right now. Any other questions or concerns? Oh, I'll go back to you.
Okay. Ken, I'll get you to change hats from the Titans board to the NACTV board for a second here. NACTV does a really good job of broadcasting the games. Having been in radio previously and worked stations that broadcast NJHL games, the away component is very important. I'm genuinely surprised, for example, how many people listen to the Terriers games on a regular basis on Seafront. Obviously, we do not have a radio station here that can do that. Or would NACTV consider maybe reaching out, and I'm not saying for every road game, maybe reaching out to maybe a Portage station or the Winkler station and maybe simulcasting maybe the radio version of it on TV? I know many of us here purchase hockey TV on a regular basis, but there are a fair number of people in the community who don't, who maybe don't sort of understand or don't know what where on the radio dial to sort of catch a road game. Is that something that NACTV might be able to do and ultimately maybe sort of make some profit off of?
It might, but I don't know if it'll work because the league has exclusive, or fast hockey? Hockey TV, sorry. Used to be fast hockey. Hockey TV has exclusive rights to all the games. And so I don't know if they would allow the audio version to be put out there. I'm sure they wouldn't allow the video version to be put out there through NACTV or any place else, but it's certainly worth considering. Any other questions or concerns? It's interesting because NACTV, I think, started hockey broadcast, Dave, you can correct me. I think they actually started long before hockey TV came into the world and kind of took, it was a revenue stream actually for our own TV station at one time. Here out of the trail used to tell us about, people in Russia tuning into the game or whatever, and all across Canada, not huge numbers, but we were doing it, we being NACTV and Neepawa, doing it long before hockey TV got involved. Hockey TV does it as well. Amen. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Last call for adjournment and coffee and donuts. Someone care to move that we adjourn the meeting? Jamie Campbell. All those in favor? Very carried. Thank you very much for your attention. And there is coffee and donuts.